Hello, everyone. I am Northern Westman, and you are watching the Disciple Hour, episode 28. Our theme or topic for today is the Superbowl ad from He Gets Us about the washing of feet. And then we will discuss what the washing of feet means from John 13. And then me and Gentile Gentleman will watch more videos from He Gets Us and dissect them. We will dissect the mimetic pathogens found in them and give commentary. And we will show how these ads are all anti-Christian and anti-white. Now, we have both watched the foot washing ad, but I haven't watched the others. We will be watching at least 3 more. And it will be a live surprise and dissection of this garbage. But, Gentile Gentleman, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. How's it going, everyone? And it's so great to be back. We always enjoy putting these on for you. And as Northern Westman said, we're doing something kind of special today. A lot of people have been talking about this Super Bowl ad, but they haven't gone deeper, really, and talked more about the He Gets Us campaign, which is why we wanted to show a few more videos that they've posted on their YouTube channel, even though these didn't play during the Super Bowl, just so you can get a better idea of who these people are and why it's important. So really looking forward to it. So yeah, absolutely. Take it away, brother.
So the first one, a son washing the feet of his father in their household. And this is a pretty nice household. The father is respectable, so is the mother, and so is the daughter here, it seems. But not so much the son. It seems like he is the rebellious son who is repenting. All right. And then we
Yeah, I
continue.
agree. Yeah, I agree. He's meant to look like a rebellious son, and that first slide is mildly wholesome. And they do this multiple times, where they'll show you a couple very controversial slides, and then they'll show you something wholesome, and then throw in more controversial slides. So yeah, no, great way to point out. This first slide is actually a very wholesome slide, and this is a bit more in line with the story of the foot washing versus what comes later.
Right. And then just right after it, we get this garbage. A black or maybe Latino police officer on his knees, no shoes on, washing the feet of a black, is it just a hobo? I mean, he's really dirty. Look at his t-shirt. Look at the dirt. It's like he's been drooling on his shirt.
Yeah, it looks like there's a pair of shoes and a bag of cans or recyclables just there to the left behind him. So yeah, it looks like it's a homeless young African American, and it could be a Hispanic police officer or a white police officer. But either way, the race of the police officer really is not important. You know, what's important here is that it's a Western policeman who they're always trying to show is not doing his job unless he's doing something other than policing. No matter what, the only time a police officer ever looks good, it's not when he's arresting a bad guy. It's not when he is saving someone from violence. It's not when he's actually doing his job. It's when he's doing something silly, like, oh, these cops played with these children for 10 minutes on their shift. What good cops? But as soon as they have to turn around and arrest a bad guy, then they're being bad cops again. And same thing in this photo. Yeah, this cop, they're portraying him as he's good because he's washing this homeless man's feet. but that's not his job. If you want there to be services and people to help take care of the homeless, that's not police officers' jobs. Police officers' jobs are to stop violence and crime and to keep neighborhoods safe, and they're overworked. They already have too much of that to do that they can't even arrest petty crimes. So to insinuate that you want police officers to just walk around and not do their job, to just kind of be window dressing or eye candy and not actual law enforcement, is still very anti-law and order. And that's kind of the key here is they always want to show police officers not actually doing their job. That's not the glorious part of being a cop. They want to show them as neglecting their job.
Hmm. That's interesting. I didn't think that deeply of it, but I see your point. But the setting is truly just disgusting. Like, the siren is on. It's like, oh yeah, an emergency call, and there the police officer arrives in this dark, disgusting, dirty alley, and just sees the homeless guy and washes his feet. It's like, all right. All right. Do you want to check the next one?
Yeah, keep it rolling.
Yeah, this one. We have the pretty white girl on the right. Do you see what the letters on her shirt here? It says perfect.
Yeah.
She is she's perfect. She's wearing a skirt with lovely legs. She's very pretty, very clean, very wholesome. And then she's washing the feet of this harlot who's like, she has black nail polish. Her nails look like claws. She looks like a witch. Short, uh, red colored hair. She looks pretty grim, to be honest. And her clothes, but her clothes look nice though. I mean, like these golf pants and the shirt she's wearing. Uh, these are AI generated images, all of them, and like the setting, the context doesn't always match up. Like a girl like her would never wear these nice clothes, in my opinion. But again, that's just my opinion.
Well, this one is a little subtle, but I think I really get the deeper meaning, which is the beautiful feminine on the right, the pristine white feminine, is washing the feet of the feminist. The
Hmm.
intentionally ugly, I cut
Yep.
my hair and dyed it red because I want people to look at me. I wear army boots, which are sitting right next to her right hip. And I wear my punk rocker plaid pants instead of a dress or a skirt because that would be too feminine. This is the pristine feminine washing the feet of the feminist,
Yeah.
being subservient to the intentionally ugly feminist. And even though
Yeah.
this girl might be pretty if she looked feminine, her
Mhm.
exterior choices, like you pointed out, her ugly fingernails, purposely wearing pants, wearing a collared shirt, wearing these big black army boots, you know, cutting her hair short and dyeing it red. It's a beautiful girl who intentionally made herself ugly, like feminists tend to do, and then the
Mhm.
pristine feminine being subservient and washing her feet. I think
Mhm.
that's where they were going with this one.
Yeah. Yes.
And the funny thing is they accidentally did some interesting things in the background. The black boy and black girl are together. The two white guys are together. So there's this weird racial separation in the background that AI did by accident because it was focusing on the center of the photo. And I don't think they intended to do that.
No. And we'll see later on. I'll point it out where the crowd, the context, just really doesn't add up. But
Right.
yeah, I think let's just continue here. So the white cowboy on the right and the American Indian on the left in a desert setting, like maybe Arizona, I don't know, uh, a rusty old pickup here, a campfire, and the white cowboy is washing the feet of the Indian. You know, this here plays right into the anti-white narrative. You know,
Yeah, this one we
the
really don't even have to
colonizer, the
dissect.
genocider. Sorry, the colonizer, the genocider, like submitting himself to his own victim. Like, you know, that story is being told here.
Right. Yeah, yeah. This one doesn't even require deep dissection because they've beaten this dead horse into the ground.
Right.
And it's funny because there's millions of descendants of Amerindians in the United States, but apparently we genocided them all. But there's a bunch of them left. I don't know how it
Yeah.
works, but apparently that's how it works. And the funny thing is this has been pointed out in the past, and I think it's a great point, is that all the people that white Americans or even white people of Western kind in general are always said to have supposedly genocided and treated so poorly and unfairly, they actually have treatments that would be dreams for us if we were ever a minority in a country. Amerindians were basically given reservations, which are their own little countries, their own sovereign nations that only answer to the federal government. And the federal government, in exchange, provides them with houses, cars, money, all kinds of support, especially for certain tribes who made really good treaties. And they basically have their own little ethno states that they control, and they don't answer to anyone except the highest forms of federal government. State governments can't go in there and arrest them without federal permission. They have all
Mm.
kinds of protections. And it's like, what hated, genocided minority ever had it so good? Which makes these little images so nefarious. How we, even though we had
Yeah.
conflict with them for hundreds of years, we actually ended up trying to treat them pretty darn well.
Yeah.
Ways in which we would love to be treated if we were ever a minority and likely never will be.
You know, Gentile, it's very interesting to me, a non-American, that Americans would supposedly genocide multiple tribes and nations across an entire continent, and yet um, celebrate their heritage by naming rivers, states, etc., with Indian names, not English names, not like Western sounding names. You know, the Potomac and names like Tennessee and Wichita and Wisconsin. These are Indian names.
Oh yeah, and the Dakotas, named after the
Right.
Dakota tribes in the
Right.
area. Yeah, no. So America had a long history of leaving place names in place versus replacing them with, like you said, French, English, or any other types of names.
Mhm.
Just like California and other places, you know, we kept the names of the cities after the Spanish missions that were there, like the cities of San Jose and San Francisco. They're named after the missions that those cities
Mhm.
were built around. So yeah, we did have a very long tradition here of not forcing renaming of places, and we left place names and things in place for historical purposes so that you
Mhm.
can actually go back and see which states, you know, originally where we found the tribes and stuff. And so you can actually trace America's history by its place names, which is very interesting.
Yeah, right. I mean, and my point is, this is not something that genociders usually do. If you just look at Turkey today, I am not aware of any cities left in Turkey that still have Greek names. Now, if someone can leave a comment, you know, proving me otherwise, go ahead. I won't get offended. But Constantinople was renamed Istanbul, etc. And this is just usually what nations do when they conquer other nations and genocide them. They eradicate their history and heritage. Whites in America didn't do that. You know, this has to be said. This is so tiresome. And this whole "we stole the land from them" garbage, like, you have to look at history in a bigger context. Like you said, whites have been very good to them. And it was under white rule that they no longer genocided each other. And I'll leave it at that, unless you have something more on this to say.
No, yeah, you're right. I completely agree. When you look at territories that used to be Western, especially in the old world, you're right. There's always a complete and total replacement, such as when the Muslims conquered the Iberian Peninsula. They did the same thing. They renamed a bunch of cities. They tore down churches and built mosques and things like that. And when the Reconquista happened, um, any of the very nice buildings were actually left up by the reconquering Europeans. They didn't tear, the nice architecture down. You can still find old Muslim buildings that are there, but hundreds and hundreds of towns and churches were all destroyed and had to be rebuilt later by
Yeah.
the Westerners when they reclaimed it. And you do see that it is very different when even when there were colonies in Africa or in India, the British didn't just come through and rename everything in English names. They left the cultures and the people intact. They kind of just acted as managers. And so you're right, there is a very different way that white people of Western kind deal with our enemies and deal with places that we either move into or start to trade with or anything like that. There is a very different way that we do things versus other people, and I'm sure deep down it is a biospiritual difference. That's probably the last thing that I would add to it.
Yes, well said. Let's keep going then. Oh, yeah, this one. So here we have an abortion clinic. Here on the right, we have white people and one Muslim lady, it seems, wearing a hijab. And they have signs that say, save the lives, save the unborn, choice or child, question mark, etc. So pro-lifers. And then here on the left, we have this rebellious girl. Notice the tattoo on her right leg. You can see it on the side here. A pretty big tattoo. Aside from that, she looks like a country girl from the 1930s or something. I don't know. A beautiful brunette. She's probably had an abortion here. She's very young, maybe a teenager. And so, and then the woman here, this very wholesome white mother with hair down to her neck, about her shoulders maybe, washing her feet. So the mimetic pathogens, the MPs, this love the sinner, hate the sin kind of, that's a borderline MP. I didn't used to think that, but now I do.
Right.
They are kind of justifying the act here of, murdering. That's what it is.
Yeah, it is funny that a supposedly Christian group intentionally attacks Christian movements, to get rid of abortion. And it is very interesting in this one that they don't call it Planned Parenthood. They call it Family Planning Clinic. Obviously, Planned Parenthood probably would have had a problem with them using their moniker, but we know what they're talking about. And again, these images are meant to make you feel an emotion. Like, oh, this poor girl, maybe the pro-lifers should be washing her feet. We don't know what happened to her. We don't know what her problems are. That's kind of what this is meant to stir up within you, is the unknown. You don't know
Yes.
what's going on. Because the main arguments they like to use for abortion, well, what about rape victims? And what about incest? And and they talk about these things that we all know do not happen nearly as often as they try to portray. A lot of feminists these days, they try to act like every woman is getting raped on every street corner and it's just happening all over the place. It's out of control. Women can't even go use the bathroom in their own house without having to worry about rape. Like it's so overdone. and so ridiculous. But when we look at the numbers, no, we see exactly what abortion is used for. It's used as a type of contraception. Women who go out and have promiscuous sex, and then realize they're pregnant because they're not using other forms of contraception and they're not married, and they go and they use Planned Parenthood as a form of contraception. Like, oh well, I don't want to have a baby, so I'll just keep killing them every time I accidentally start making one. Um, and that's really what this obfuscates here is there's so much unknown and they try to oversimplify the argument to where it almost makes you feel guilty for opposing it. But no, it is righteous to oppose abortion. And to try to say otherwise, or to say that women who are getting abortions and getting them routinely, because the average person who uses Planned Parenthood for abortions has more than one abortion. Um, as you said, it's not like we should stone them in the street, but it's not like we should be supporting it either. And that's really kind of the nefarious part here. I also like how you pointed out this does look like it takes place in like the 1940s or 50s, and there's a Muslim in the United States. Very interesting touch there.
It kind of has like a Barbie feel to it. Not that I've seen the
Right.
movie, but you know, yeah, I know. Like my point, that I made earlier, like these images, these are AI fakes, and they are just cartoonish. And this is not the top. This isn't the peak. Let's just continue and watch some more. Unless you have any final thoughts here.
The only final thing I noticed is it's funny that they put the abortion clinic next to a motel. Because in the United
Yeah,
States, like cheap motels, that's where you take prostitutes and stuff. So I just thought that was funny that that's where they decided to set up shop.
right. And then they have the Barbie feel to it, kind of like
Yeah.
justifying the act. Huh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, no, it's weird. A lot of these images, because it's not like the AI just put motel there by accident. The person
No,
creating
no.
the AI had
Oh
to
yeah,
type that in. So they
yeah,
wanted there to be a motel there. So yeah,
right.
it's very interesting when you see some of the slightly little nefarious things that they would have had to type in to generate this image.
I mean, this looks like some vacation. They're all wearing pink, and like it's just a jolly, gathering by a motel. Like the setting is. Now, when I think of it, that's a good point about the prostitution, happening here in the background, and then they give it like a light touch.
Right. Yeah,
A
it is
clear
interesting.
blue sky, beautiful. What is this, California? I don't know. Like we have
It
palm
looks like
trees
it's supposed
here.
to be California.
Uh, yeah, that's a good point. But let's keep going though. All right, here. Okay, this one. An alcoholic. The kitchen here is a mess. There are bottles everywhere, cigarettes on a plate, on the floor, and it's just a mess. Dishes that haven't been washed, and etc. And the woman here on the right, um, I don't think she's supposed to be very old. She has like she has wrinkles, but she's just damaged after all from all the drinking and smoking, and she's very
Weathered, yeah.
skinny. Hmm? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
what?
she's weathered. She's very
Yeah.
weathered
Oh,
from the
weathered.
drinking.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And here is this supposed to be her daughter? I don't know. This is a beautiful redhead, a white girl, washing her feet. Now, this is not
And th
the peak of the MP. This is probably one of the better ones, but
I
we'll
was gonna
get
say
into
that
the.
this is one of the hidden wholesome ones where, like, whether it's her daughter or not, yeah, if people are struggling with addiction, there is nothing wrong with someone younger and healthier in a better position in life helping someone like that out. And
Yes,
this may
yes.
very well be her mother. Like there could be some wholesomeness to this one. This is one of the wholesome ones they kind of sprinkled in there to disarm
Mhm.
you.
Yeah. I think so too. It looks like she is repenting. She is sorry, and she, it's like she has failed her daughter, but her daughter forgives her. That's kind of the message that I got. I don't know about you, but yeah, this is one of the hidden wholesome ones. And I think there are only two. It's this one, and then the son, you know, washing the feet of his father. And that's interesting, honor your father and mother. That's the theme, really. That's the only Christian theme, the only positive Christian, I'm sorry, the only Christian that might have been the ears against the door. Oops. Did you get that? Never mind. This is the only wholesome Christian theme or message in this entire ad.
Yeah, no, you're
But
right.
okay.
Yeah, I believe there's one other wholesome one that I noted that's hidden in here, but yeah, you're right. The only couple of wholesome ones have to do with families helping each other. As soon as there's any issues dealing with someone who's not a family member, it always has to either be racial or it has to have some political agenda to it. Like you have to wash the feet of this person who's doing something horribly wrong just because. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. I think we're done here. Let's go. This one is weird. So we have a desert landscape in America with oil rigs and a white construction worker, oil rig worker, washing the feet of some non-white woman, maybe some American Indian, wearing traditional clothes. Quite nice, actually.
She
And
looks
he's
like
washing.
she's Asian. But
She does look
it
that way, right? But the setting, yeah. I mean, maybe it's just the AI being ridiculous, like we've noticed before.
well, no, see, I get this one because I'm American, so I know exactly where they're going with it. You see the sign right behind the girl, how it says clean air now? She's an
Huh?
environmentalist protester. And like you said, he's an oil rig worker. And she's probably there to get in the way and to cause problems for the oil workers who are trying to make gasoline. And so the
Hmm.
gasoline, the guy who works in the oil field, he's washing her feet,
Yeah.
instead of getting upset at her for coming and disturbing his job site.
Right. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I ruined your planet. Here, let me wash your feet. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
this
mean,
one is just silly, really, because it's one climate protester in the middle of the desert. It's like, where's all the other climate
yeah,
protesters?
yeah, exactly. But look at okay, look at her clothes. You gotta agree, these are nice traditional clothes.
Yeah.
It's like, and he is dirty in a like, I mean, as you would expect from working on in an oil field, just gray clothes, gray. But she's colorful. People of color, get it? And then people of no color. It's just something I noticed. That's it's this visual MP, the people of color. It's very. This is subtle. But yeah,
No,
the,
you're
the
right. You're
clothes
right,
here,
though.
the AI would not generate these clothes for no reason at all. This was done deliberately.
Yeah, it's deliberately meant to be kind of those earthy, type of clothes that a lot of people that in America we would consider hippies might wear, but they are
Yeah.
actually very nice, aesthetically pleasing. And yeah, and he's obviously wearing his oil rig outfit. You can see he's got like reflectors on his coat and pants, and he's got rubber work boots, and he's washing her feet with his helmet, his
Hmm.
hard hat that he would wear on the oil rigs. He's washing her feet with it.
Hmm.
And the other funny thing I'll point out in this shot, you see the little station wagon right behind the oil field worker? I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he didn't drive that station wagon there. So Mrs. Clean Air now drove her car to the gasoline field to protest making gasoline when she just used gasoline.
You mean a worker like this would be on a pickup truck or something?
Oh yeah, he would definitely be in a pickup truck. Look at him; they're in the
Uh,
middle of the desert. You wouldn't drive a little
uh-huh.
station wagon out there
No,
unless you were
right.
actually as dumb as a climate activist.
All right.
Sorry, I'm being a little mean there. I do need to be a bit more Christian, but I just find that funny. I do find it funny how even in an AI image, they have to make climate protesters look really silly by bringing their cars.
That's not the message I got. I honestly got the message that this was his car, but I just, yeah, okay. It
No,
went
that's
over my
definitely
head.
her car. No working man drives a little station wagon to the middle of the desert.
Okay, okay, all right. I mean, okay. Why not an electric? Okay. All right, let's go here. This is the worst one, in my opinion. All right. Whew. We have a white suburbia. Everything is clean and nice. And then you have here, we talked about this briefly before the show. These are border crossers from the south of the border. And they are driving a bus towards Chicago. You can see it in the upper windshield. And on their way, all the way down from the south, all the way up north to Chicago, they just stop somewhere along the way in a white suburbia, and they are dropping the people off. You can see the people to the left side inside the bus. They are leaving the bus through the front door. They are leaving. They are emptying the bus, and they are getting off the bus. And these are all their belongings. Look, the woman in the front, the Hispanic, the Latino woman holding her infant, her
Hmm.
entire belongings here to the left, these are just clothes in a pink plastic bag, shoes, bottles of water, and is that a blanket, rolled up blanket, something like that? These are
Yeah,
all her
blanket or a
belongings, and
duffel bag.
yeah, and she's dirty. She's wearing sweatpants. They're dirty. All these people are dirty by the looks of it. And then here you have this sweet, lovely white housewife on her knees wearing, gorgeous jewelry, her earrings and bracelets, pearls, nice hair cut to the neck, shoulder length neck, washing the feet of this border crosser. This is, like we talked about, this is the most disgusting one. This is saying, oh yeah, Jesus, he would approve of a literal invasion. Border crossers coming into your country, not respecting the law of your land, just being dumped into your backyard. And you're just supposed to get out in the street and wash their feet. Yeah, you serve them now, Whitey. That's the message. Very sickening.
Well, yeah, and you notice that they all have children. There's a couple of children to the left with some of the other migrants,
Mhm.
and I believe you can't see inside of the bus any children. It looks like two more men getting off. But yeah, they're
Mhm.
coming into this neighborhood with their children, and the only white person is the woman washing the feet. There's no children, there's no nothing, and she's obviously much older than a lot of these younger
Yeah.
migrants. So there is a lot more at play there in the sense that this insinuation that white people are the old and they're on their way out, and these are the new Americans, they're on their way in, and not only should you like it, but that it's inevitable. And the Christian thing to do, like you said, is to just wash their feet and give them what is yours.
Yeah.
And it's especially comical too because the average migrant who comes across the southern border doesn't look as dirty as this woman here is portrayed to look. When you
Yeah,
see these
right.
videos of these caravans and people crossing the border, they're dressed in perfectly nice clothes. They wear Nikes, they're wearing jeans, they have nice backpacks, they all have cell phones and stuff. Like this insinuation that south of the border, everyone is like homeless and just living hand to mouth in the streets, and the only way for them to survive is for the United States to take them in. It's a joke. I mean, it is a joke. It's a lie. These are people who had perfectly normal lives in Mexico, in the Dominican Republic, in all these places that they're coming from, but they can just have nicer things here, and that's the only reason they're here. That's all it is it's a shortcut to nicer things. And it's also comical, because they show this suburban neighborhood as like, oh, see, look at how much you have and how little they have. And that's not true. I mean, you go to places in Mexico that are very nice, and they have lots of buildings, and they have lots of homes, and lots of, I mean, Mexico has tons of vacation resorts where there's all these really nice towns with tourists constantly pumping money into them all the time. So no, you can make a perfectly decent and happy life in Mexico. Are there problem areas? Of course there are. There's cartels and stuff
Mhm.
there, but guess what? Unfortunately, the Mexican cartels are in the United States too. Our entire Texas, southern area is practically controlled by them, and we suffer under them as well. But no one cares when Americans have to deal with them. It's
Mm.
only a problem when other people have to deal with them.
Uh,
So yeah, there is this big giant, thing here where it's basically like, look at what you have, why can't you share it with all of these people who are being brought here to cause white erasure?
yeah, yeah, right, exactly. And I do want to add more to what you said, but we kind of have to keep going. We're
Yeah, no,
kind
let's
of
keep going.
out of time, so let's just go to the next one. Okay, this one, let's just go through it quickly. So here we have a white man, maybe a white woman. His wife kind of looks a bit darky, washing the feet of a Muslim woman, and her husband standing by the side in their backyard. It's like, yeah, welcome the immigrants, welcome them into your neighborhood. And and this woman here, she's like very housewife looking, American housewife, judging by her clothes. And this man here, this white guy, a working man. It seems like he has like, are these working gloves on the grass here? So he's been doing gardening or something. So, and there's a gardening hose here. They've been working, and then they just take a break from the work to wash their feet of uh, the
Yeah,
white
this one's
erasure.
very simple. Yeah, this one's very simple. It's white Christians. You should wash the feet and want there to be Muslim migration. That's all it is. Just
Yeah,
more white
right.
erasure. More
And
white
okay, I
erasure.
was yeah, but okay, that's a good point. I mean, about the Muslims. Um, this woman is like the more beautiful Muslim women I've ever seen. And this Arab guy here, he is more respectable than most of the men I've seen. He has a very nice beard, cut hair, a nice haircut. He is well dressed in a shirt, short sleeves, and they are respectable. Like, oh, it's the respectable Muslims coming into your country. But then, take a walk around London or Paris or Malmö in Sweden, and you'll see something else. You are greeted
Right.
with a by a different reality. So that's an MP right here, a visual MP, telling you, a good expectation, good neighbors. Like if they were white and not wearing a hijab, you would want them as your neighbors, right? But this is
Well,
not the reality.
it's funny to me that they didn't make the husband wash her feet, because in the Islam, the Muslims would be upset because a non-Islamic man is not allowed to touch a Muslim woman. So they made sure not to do that. But what they got wrong here is the Muslim guy has a mustache with his beard, and in Islam, you're not supposed to have a mustache with your beard. It's
Right.
something Muhammad
But
said not to do. So they got that wrong anyway. They don't even know anything about Muslims.
yeah, right. Folks, Gentile here has actually read the Quran. Uh, imagine that. So
Yeah, man,
he knows
you
what he's
got to
talking
know
about.
your enemy.
Right. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point, though. I didn't know this, but okay. But then the MP makes a lot more sense. They make him look a lot more neighborly friendly, right?
Yeah,
A
more
guy with
Western.
an unshaved, unattended beard is, yeah, like, did you come out of a cave? Have you been, it's like some, the goat herder, jihadi, stereotype. But they make these people look very respectable. Like, oh yeah, he's at school, she's also at college. They integrate perfectly. Blah blah blah. It's an MP. All right, but
Yeah, they make it look like the only difference between us and them is just the hijab. Everything else is the same,
no, yeah,
which is the lie.
right.
Yeah, they make them look more Western on purpose. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. Well put. All right, let's go to the next one here. Okay, this one. Okay, this is one of the most ridiculous ones. Okay, so here we have, like, the focus here is this black woman washing the feet of an Indian woman. And you don't really know what is happening. There are people shouting at each other, like two sides clashing in these stairs. It's not until you read the signs that they're holding up that you realize what it's supposed to represent. So on the right side, you see signs reading "Shut him up" and "Silence hate." So they want censorship. They are anti-free speech. And on the left side, you see signs like "Let him speak" and "Censorship," and like a red cross over it, like, no censorship. So, okay, so on the left, there's pro free speech, and on the right side, anti free speech. But the crowd looks the same. I mean, the people on the left look exactly like the people on the right. And this doesn't represent reality. It doesn't reflect reality at all.
Well, what I think they had trouble with is they probably typed into the AI like protesters fighting with each other. And since only one side really is the nasty protesters, they just made both
Right.
sides look identical and changed the signs.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Uh,
Because yeah, it's funny.
yeah.
The AI will accidentally tell the truth about certain things, and it's like, yeah, the only people that act like unhinged maniacs is people that look like this. But they try to act like there's two different sides going on here because the AI was told to. But the AI knows what crazy protesters look like, and they don't
You're
usually look
right.
like that.
Crazy protesters. Yeah, exactly. That's the AI result.
Yeah, so it's funny. The AI will accidentally tell the truth in certain situations when you really look for it, because it knows what crazy protesters look like. They don't look like normal white folks.
Yeah, right. I mean, this is the photo that I had in mind when I talked earlier about the absurdity, the absurd context. But yeah, I suppose your explanation makes perfect sense. But okay, there's not so much else to cover here from me. Anything from you?
No, we can move on.
All right, let's go. Okay, this one. The old black man and the old white man is somewhere in the south in some old diner. It says diner. It kind of looks southern to me. And the old dog by the white man's side. And they're having drinks, aren't they? And they're both having a foot bath in the same bucket. And this is like, the MP, oh, we both lived through Jim Crow, one race, the human race. It's that MP right here. Oh, the only thing that separates us is skin color. We have moved on. That
Yeah,
MP.
and what I will say for this one is at least the white guy isn't on his knees washing this guy's feet. They're both dipping
True.
their feet in the same bath. And if this had been the message all along, I probably would have had a lot less to say about the whole issue, right? This is definitely one of the ones that really isn't all that bad. um this one really doesn't bother me. It's like, all right, yeah, if these two old guys are friends, that there really isn't anything wrong with that because no one is being subservient to the other here. See, this is actual like reciprocity. These two guys are in a respectful position to each other. If for once this is the first slide where the white person with the non-white isn't on their knees washing their feet.
I
And so it is interesting that they threw this one in here, and probably just to show, like, oh, see, all the white people aren't on their knees. See, that this white guy wasn't on his knee. Like, this one is literally placed here just so they can say, no, no, no. See, we didn't hate on the white people. This white guy's not
mm.
on his knees. That's all this one is here for.
Okay, I get your point. But
Plausible
this is
deniability. That's
still
all this slide is for.
maybe, but it's still very damaging. It's this promotes the colorblind MP. Oh, you're handicapped, can't see color. Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
handicapped colorblind MP. And the black guys, like there's compassion between the two. Yeah, just one of those visual MPs, like, stop noticing race, even though all the other images were pretty much anti-white, especially the suburbia one, really
Right.
freaking anti-white. And then this, like a thunder out of a clear blue sky, like, race doesn't matter. I don't see skin color.
Yeah,
The,
race
the
matters
one
so
race, the
little that
human
they
race,
had to make a
garbage.
picture of two different people with different races.
Yeah, I mean, they go from, be ashamed of what you have, bigot, to race doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, F you, you have white privilege, whitey, F your whiteness, and then race doesn't matter, we're all the same, human race, bleh. It's, it's
Right.
really sickening. Okay. Next one.
Yep, next one.
Okay, okay, I take my words back. This is the worst one. This is the worst one. The white preacher or priest on his knees washing the feet of a gay black man. And this one also looks the most AI-ish. It's like it's just so fake and ridiculous. Like some
Right.
public bench, really weird public bench that I've never seen. One tree, what is this? A pine tree or something? A little white, no, sorry,
But
green grass. Then sandy beach, lovely ocean, completely still, and nice blue skies. Perfect day for a day on the beach. And then the servant of Christ himself with a silver cross around his neck, washing the feet of an unrepented sinner.
with holy water. That's a holy water flask. So
Oh,
he's not only that, but he's doing it with holy water.
you're not joking? I thought this was
No,
just a plastic bottle.
no, no. That's a. It looks metal to me.
Right.
Yeah, like the little metal, flasks that they will carry holy water in and stuff when they go to like pray for
Uh-huh.
healing or for a
Mm-hmm.
baby or something. Yeah, it looks
No.
like a holy water vessel. I do love how the
Oh.
gay guy had his rollerblades on though, his little four-wheeler skates.
Oh yeah.
That that right there. I mean, you can't just get any more stereotypical than that. That's funny. But yeah, no, and the other thing I'll ask too, for anyone out there listening who's like, oh, these guys are crazy, they're just here to complain about anything. They could complain about anything. Okay, let me posit it to you this way. Why weren't the migrants washing the old woman's feet? Why isn't this gay guy washing the pastor's feet or the priest's feet, whatever this guy is, whether he's Greek Orthodox or Catholic, doesn't matter. Why isn't he washing his feet? Why wasn't the homeless black guy washing the police officer's feet? Why weren't all of those anti-white, why weren't the Muslims washing the Christian Americans' feet? Why is it all one-sided? Why is it always the white person on their knees, or it's always the Christian on their knees to the sinner, or like the Planned Parenthood one? Why isn't the girl who just came out of Planned Parenthood washing the pro-lifers' feet? Why is it all one-sided to where everyone who is considered right wing or conservative Christian white Western kind, why are they always the one doing the foot washing? And it's always the so-called left, anti-white, liberal, whatever, on the other side getting their feet washed. Why isn't it the other way around? If truly the point of this was just to bring togetherness and, like, oh, see, guys, we can all be friends, why is it only one side who's doing all the subservience and all of the catering, and the other side is getting all of the benefit? And that's kind of the Freudian slip they did with this advertisement here, is that what they're basically saying is it doesn't matter what your beliefs are. It doesn't matter how Christian you are and what you find sinful. It doesn't matter what you find abhorrent. It doesn't matter what belongs to you. It doesn't matter that these non-whites are coming into your country and they are changing the demographics, they're changing the culture, they're changing everything. Not only do you have to put up with it, but you should like it and you should become their servants. Because otherwise, at least some of these images would have been the opposite of what they are. This gay guy would be trying to make peace with the pastor. Like, oh, hey, look, I'm not so bad. You know, even though you're Christian, I can still be kind to you. I can compromise with you. Why is the compromise only going one direction? And that's when you can always spot bad faith. If this was made in good faith and they genuinely wanted to make everyone feel welcome, it wouldn't be one-sided who's always on their knees.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they could have made a Noel Ignatieff type, just being, repenting and just washing the feet of a white guy. But no, like you said, it's pretty obvious that this is anti-white.
Well, it's anti-Christian dressed up as Christianity, and this is something Christians really need to pay attention to. It is very anti-white. I'm not knocking that at all, because it is. But this is supposed to be a Christian group who is putting up a ton of anti-Christian images and basically telling Christians, like, hey, it doesn't matter that all these people are doing things that are bad for them. You not only have to wash their feet, but you need to keep quiet. Like, stop telling the gays that it's not good for them to live that way. You know, stop
Mhm.
telling the people at Planned Parenthood they shouldn't be getting abortions. They're basically telling you, stop standing up for anything Christian, because that's the
Yeah.
Christian thing to do. It's so absurdly stupid that only people who are being disingenuous could possibly think that it's true. There's no way the people who are truly behind this and funding it and designing the ad are actually Christian. There's no way.
Jesus didn't teach hate. He washed feet. He gets us, all of us. Jesus. Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah, and this segues nicely into, so let's talk about the story that actually inspires all these ads and how it doesn't make any sense with any of the images they just showed you. Again, so when you go and you read the book of John, or even any of the other major, Matthew, Mark, they all have a version of events, leading up to the Passover before the crucifixion. Um, but the best version of the foot washing story, Jesus doesn't wash everyone's feet. He only washes the feet of his disciples. He only washes other Christians' feet. And he tells them to do it in remembrance of him with each other. He doesn't tell them to go wash Muslims' feet. He doesn't tell them to go wash the Jews' feet. He doesn't tell them to go wash the Romans' feet. He says for them to do it every year in remembrance of him at the time of the crucifixion and the Passover, in remembrance of Jesus and how he came and served and how we should serve each other. This is meant to be something between Christians, not for Christians to go out and do for a bunch of non-Christians. That completely misses the point of the story, and it's intentionally misleading.
Yes. And in the Gospel of John, chapter 13, we get this account. I'm going to read from verse 6. Then cometh he to Simon Peter, or Jesus, and Peter saith unto him, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? Jesus answered and said unto him, What I do thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter. Peter said unto him, Thou shalt never wash my feet. Jesus answered him, If I wash thee not, thou hast no part with me. And Simon Peter said unto him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Now, and here, so he did wash the feet of Judas as well. I'm going to read here from verse 10, just continuing. Jesus said to him, He that is washed needeth not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit. And ye are clean, but not all. For he who should betray him, therefore said he, Ye are not all clean. So after he had washed their feet and had taken his garments, he was set down again and said unto them, Know ye what I have done to you? Ye call me Master and Lord, and ye say, Well, for so am I. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye also ought to wash one another's feet. And that is exactly what you said. But now a more commentary on the washing of the feet. So he was serving them.
Right. Yeah. Showing that the master is not greater than the servant.
Yes. I mean, he clearly is greater than all of them. But however, he is serving them because he knows that now he has to die that night. He knows his destiny. He's going to be murdered and humiliated and tortured, and all the prophecies will be fulfilled, and it will be complete. It is finished, as he said on the cross when he died. He is serving. He is the ultimate sacrifice. He is there serving his flock. This is his service. You know, it's interesting that he says here in verse 7, what I do thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter. And in the Gospel of John, quite often he says the disciples realized later on why he did it or why he said this or that.
Right.
It has a lot of do with, it's foreshadowing, and we don't know the deep mysteries. They are completely unaware. They don't know the mystery. They didn't know that he was going to die. I mean, the people thought they thought that he was going to be king and just rule like King David. They had no idea what was going to happen. And even Thomas didn't believe that he had been resurrected. He had to see him and put his fingers in the holes on his hands. They were so blown away. The mysteries, they realized it was all revealed to them after the resurrection. And remember, he came to them and he breathed onto them and said, receive the Holy Spirit. And he revealed the entire scriptures to them. So this is all very symbolic, and the Gospel of John especially is very spiritual and very symbolic. And it has a lot to do with compassion. So in this same chapter 13, after he had said to Judas, that thou doest do quickly, and then he sent him away, and the other disciples thought he had sent him on some to buy something or give to the poor. But no, he was really just getting rid of him. And then he says, hold on, wait, in verse 34, this ties to what he did to them, why he washed their feet. He says, a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another.
Right.
And this is, this cannot possibly be about love everyone. I mean, did he really love Judas there? Was this compassion he showed to Judas here? He did give him one last chance, but Judas wasn't one of his flock, part of his flock. It wasn't his people. This is most definitely concerning the church, that we love one another in the church as Jesus has loved us.
Well, I think the thing there that causes people confusion is we have convoluted the meaning of love in the current day and age. I think people a long time ago understood love better than we do today. Because what we call love today, most people would find horrifying. Like the argument for homosexuality, like, oh, love is love. And what they're basically saying is one guy who dumpster pumps another guy behind a bar while they're both drunk in a place that he shouldn't be putting his thing, that's equivalent to a happy marriage where a man and a woman have intercourse to create children. What they're basically saying is there's no difference. They're both love. And that's disgusting. So what we have done in the present day is we have used the word love in place of just this unrelenting acceptance where it's like, oh yeah, my son, he's a drug addict, but I love him. It's like, yeah, no, you do love him. But because you love him, you try not to let him do bad things. You discipline him. You bring him back to living a good life. And it even says in the Bible, if a rebellious son doesn't listen to his mother and his father, the village is supposed to come together and either throw him out or stone him. That's in the Old Testament, but this idea that love means you have to like everyone and everything they do all the time is not correct. It's not loving to tell women like, oh yeah, it's totally cool to get abortions. You should totally kill your children. It's not bad for you, and God's going to forgive you anyway. We shouldn't say that because that's not loving. What is loving is to tell them like, no, you shouldn't kill your children. Not only is that bad for your children, it's extremely bad for you. There's no way that you can kill your own children, especially multiple times, and not be damaged and traumatized by it. And most women who get abortions are. Some of them aren't. Some of them are, crazy and proud, but very many of them are traumatized by it. It's not a good thing. So is it loving to tell them to do it? Of course not. What we think of as loving in the present day is just constantly affirming everyone and telling them that everything about them is great. Whereas real love, like the kind of love Jesus would want us to show each other, is no, you have some improving to do. And because I love you, I want to encourage you and help you do better because that will be good for you versus just telling you what you want to hear because that might make you feel a little better in the here and now. There is a true type of love that most people these days don't understand. A lot of people call it tough love, but it's not tough love, it's just love. Like when you tell someone who's doing something wrong, you really shouldn't be doing that. That is caring about them. A lot of people don't interpret it that way because they throw a little tantrum and they don't want to hear you disagreeing with them, but that is loving, and they just refuse to accept it that way. So they use love as a way to say, oh, well, see, if you love me, you have to tell me that everything I do is fine. Versus, no, no, I do love you. So if you do a good thing, I'll tell you. But if you do a bad thing, I'll also tell you. They don't want that part of love. They want to get that part out.
Yeah, well said. If you don't discipline your children, you don't really love them. That's just the fact.
True. Or your neighbor. Or your neighbor. If you
Right.
see your neighbor engaging in some kind of horrible activity and you don't try to help your neighbor or to stop him from doing so, yeah, you don't love your neighbor. And we see that in the present day in society where people are always looking the other way. They'll see someone getting robbed in the street and no one lifts a finger to help. They'll see
Mm.
someone, completely drunk, stumbling, falling face down on the ground, and people just walk past them. They step right over them and just keep on walking because they don't actually love them. someone who loves them would actually stop or interfere, even if it was at risk to themselves, they would do something about it. And so we have this learned apathy. And yeah, it's completely unloving. So yeah, our idea of love in the present day is very skewed. And people have to remember that when someone tries to quote this scripture to you of like, oh, well, see, you have to love the gays because Jesus said to love everybody. It's like, yeah, but I love the gays so much that I don't want them traumatizing each other's rectums all day until they bleed and die, which some of them do. Like, I love them enough to tell them not to do that. And anyone who tells them, no, you should totally do that all the time until you have, rectal cancer and until you have other medical issues that come from it, because it does, that's not loving. That's not loving them at all. You're telling them to do something detrimental.
This has been a great discussion, and I thank you all for listening, and I will see you next time. God bless you all. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Yep. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it, and have a great day.